Welcome to the Roy and Matt Show, and for all of our Norwegians, Jeg fuller behovet for fart.
For fart? Somehow I don't think I have to guess too much on that one.
No. I'm guessing. What is it?
We have a special guest tonight.
Yeah, but what did you say? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? I said I feel the need.
The need?
The need for speed.
For speed.
Because our special guest tonight
is...
Some people call him Julie's husband, but that's weak. We call him the Colonel.
The Colonel. We call him the Colonel because he is a retired Air Force Colonel. And let's introduce ourselves, and he can introduce himself as well. My name is Roy.
I'm Matt.
I'm producer Logan.
Today we have with us a guest intern.
Ryan.
Ryan the intern. And the Colonel.
The Colonel. That's me.
That's him.
You sound so excited about that.
How do you feel about that? Is that okay if we call you the Colonel? Not that it's going to matter.
No, it's fine.
Good. And how? Should we just go through some basic stuff?
Well, let's jump right into
this. Let's give some stats.
Well, here's my first question before we get anywhere, because I might forget. Is it awkward when you're picking your call signs and other people like Jester, Maverick, and you're like, I want to be the Colonel?
You don't pick a call sign.
Hold on. I have that on my list.
Colonel isn't a call sign, it's a rank.
Hey, listen, first of all, it'd be the best call sign. If you were Admiral the Colonel, that'd be awesome. And secondly, if you really don't pick your call sign, please lie to me and say you do, because that's one of the things I think is coolest.
Matt likes to be lied to a lot on the show.
Yeah, and we always disappoint him.
I can't even remotely lie to you on that one, Matt, because it's really cheesy if you pick your own call sign.
I guess that's true. It's like picking your own nickname.
T-Bone.
Yes, it is.
T-Bone.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm going to tell a quick tale on one of my good friends. My buddy was delivering pizzas when you're 18, and a gal he delivered pizzas to asked him if he wanted to be a male model. And he said yes, and he actually became a male model. And in the process of becoming a male model, he said, hey, we should all get nicknames. Like, you guys should call me Hollywood. And we looked at one another, we're like, we're never going to call you Hollywood in your whole life. We went out that night to a club, and he walked up to a girl, and he goes, hey, no one calls me Hollywood. And I'm like...
And that was it? That was the ticket?
Well, this is a family show, so I'm not going to tell how that tale ended, but
I think we get it now.
He deemed it a success. He deemed it a success, and I just
fantastic.
remember him. I'm like, your come on line was no one calls me Hollywood, and it worked. And so I referenced
because it required some explanation, maybe.
Well,
nope. He just rolled with it.
I got another nickname story, real quick. So you guys know, or maybe you don't know, we were playing soccer a number of years ago, and everybody had nicknames. Everybody. Well.
I didn't.
Pretty much, Matt and I didn't, because we were the guys giving everybody nicknames. But there was one guy who...
and really only two people got nicknames.
That's true. Okay, so you know what? The story isn't as awesome as I thought, but the two nicknames that came out of that are pretty awesome. So one guy, he came, and he was always getting sore. Actually, we have three nicknames, but he's getting really sore, and it's not the guy you're thinking. He would get really sore. So one day he brought some Tiger Balm, which is like a Chinese fake medicine.
Right.
Is it real? You've been all over the world. Is that real?
You can get it. It comes from Thailand, I believe.
Well, for this story, it's fake Chinese medicine in a little jar that you get, like, you order a number 9 with fried rice, and they have some Tiger Balm. And so that's what he had, and he brought this, and our buddy Conrad, you guys know Conrad, he picked up this stuff, and he's like, hey, who's the slightly effeminate gentleman, except he didn't use those words, who's using this Tiger Balm, right? And so this guy, I think Adam, he held up his hand. He's like, that was his name. So Matt and I would go through this list. Who's coming to soccer this week? We go Tiger Balm, and then there was another guy who would never pass the ball. We called him the Black Hole. We put his name down. And then there was this other guy who was constantly getting hurt. Not just sore, but constantly getting hurt. And so we called him Fragile. You guys know who Fragile is?
We called him the Italian for a while, because you and I were calling him Fragile behind the scenes, and we're like, oh, man, he's Italian.
Right.
And then someone goes, what? And we're like, oh, you know.
No. Well, what?
No, you go ahead. Jump in.
I was talking about the actual day when he figured out what
Oh,
we were
yeah,
calling.
yeah, yeah. That's the best part of the story.
Was that where you were going?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, we never told him what his nickname was, but we would always just write his nickname down on a piece of paper. Well, anyway, we're playing in the gym over there, and I said, "Hey, Fragile, give me the ball." I was looking right at him. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" You know that like when you like say something, you like get all panicky because you just called some dude some name right to his face. I'm like. And he's looking at me. He's like, "What'd you just call me?" And I go, "Fragile. You know, it's Italian. Hey, Fragile, pass me the ball." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Well, he takes like 2 or 3 steps, and we're playing a little bit further, and he grabs a ball out of the air, and he turns over and he goes, "Fragile? You're calling me fragile?" I'm like, "No, it's Fragile." "Yes." We all call you Fragile behind your back.
The best part about that was everybody there knew Fragile was his nickname. And when he goes, "You're calling me Fragile?" And we're all, like, the whole room just like,
just chuckling like little girls.
Just giddy little laughter. And
but he was crazy.
To his credit, he went like this. "Okay, I'm Fragile."
Yeah,
and that
like
was
for all the video.
If I ever get a shirt, I'm putting Fragile on the back.
Well, that's just it.
Right.
Anytime you're given a nickname, if you balk it, they're just gonna give you a worse nickname.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just shut up and take it.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
and I
That's just
firmly
what
believe
you
that
gotta
all
do.
nicknames have to come from something you hate initially.
Yeah, like a good friend of mine, we call him Dog Turd. Oh, he hates it, but we all love calling him that. I'm just kidding. So, hey, but it comes back to the question: how?
What was your call sign?
Yeah, what was your call sign? I can check that off my list.
Well, it was kind of 2 different call signs that I had. Honestly, there were 2
really?
different ones, and it depended
How
on
many
what
guys get 2
squadron I
call
was
signs?
in. Just because other guys wanted to call me something else at one point.
I'm sure there's guys that wanted to call you a lot. Of
Yeah,
names.
I'm sure they did. The first one that actually kind of stuck, guys used to call me Pink.
Like Mr.
And-
Pink? Because that's all right.
Pink, you know,
Stinky
they would just
Pink?
yell Pink because of my last name.
Oh.
So think of it.
Pink Lloyd.
Yeah.
Oh, we never say his last names.
So
Well,
yeah.
it's out there now.
Delete.
Well,
Delete.
I didn't say it. You did.
Okay, well,
And by association, we now know who Julie is.
So anyway, so Pink.
And then the other one was we were doing these stand-up deals, and
I don't know what is
they,
that.
they used to do this. They used to
You're
do
like,
this
hey,
thing.
everybody, welcome to the show.
What's the deal with fighter pilots?
We used to get tested in a group where guys would be given a scenario, and then you had to, solve the scenario. And as soon as you stood up, you became absolutely stupid. Right?
So your guys were all getting tested, and all of a sudden you were cough twice, the wingman.
Yeah, exactly. And I just stood up and I said, "Mongo don't know. Mongo only pawn in Game of Life." And they're like, "Sit down for the day." And so I got called Mongo for a long time.
Wow.
That was and that one is still stuck. Even at my airline job, guys know me as Mongo.
That's the most glorious thing I have heard on this podcast. You now are the winner of the first 9 episodes.
That is awesome. So
Mongo don't know.
Mongo don't know.
Did you immediately go out and punch a cow unconscious?
Knock him out.
Knock a horse out.
Knock a horse out.
you've been all over. Have you ever seen anybody do that?
Knock a horse out?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. Actually, when I was a little kid,
Here's the
saw
thing.
one of my-
Stop. We're going to ask you a lot of questions. You need to start lying more.
okay.
Because
Well,
your
when I was a
stories
little
are going
kid-
to totally blow.
when I was a little kid, my dad had a friend that had a bunch of horses,
Right.
and this one, he had bought these little Shetland ponies that are a
you
real
could totally
pain in the
knock
rear.
out a Shetland pony.
Well, and the Shetland pony kicked his wife, and he walked out in the stall and hit it right in the nose.
you know what? I don't think that's cool
with his
at all.
fist. I didn't think it was that cool,
Yeah.
but it made him not.
But
kick
I'll tell you
anymore.
this much. I'll tell you what though. All the other ponies and all their kids were like, "Well, don't kick mom."
Exactly.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So, did you guys ever hear of the jousting shows on Discovery
Yeah,
Channel?
yeah,
all
yeah.
that?
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah,
That's something to do with metal in the title, isn't it?
Heavy metal.
heavy
Heavy
metal.
metal, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It was.
I just saw the previews. Was it good?
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yes,
it
it
was.
was.
Awesome.
It was not anywhere as good as I had hoped it would be.
No, it
Whoa,
was.
whoa, whoa, where were your expectations for heavy metal?
Hold on. I'm gonna interject
Yeah.
right now. I'm gonna claim the conch. If you like people who will seriously put on armor and hit each other with big sticks and not realize the humor in that, then it's an awesome, awesome show.
I'm telling you, I DVR'd that show. I watched it every week.
And it was hilarious. When they would talk about their horses, and they're like, oh, well, Warrior Club, he's got a good personality. He fits me because I like to club war. And you're like, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
They're saying these words, and they're not breaking character. They're just saying these words on purpose. I loved it.
I did too.
So there was one episode, though, where a guy, he punched a horse because it stepped on his foot. And it was a big horse, so he was afraid he was going to break his foot, and he punched it right in the nose. The guy got ejected from the show because of it, because he wouldn't apologize for it.
You can't mistreat an animal.
Yeah.
Well, if there's one thing we've learned from this show is we do not condone the mistreating
the punching of horses.
Oh, unless it's a Shetland pony that steps on your wife or kicked your wife, then that thing's got to go down. Just out of principle.
Send him home with a shiner.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, here's another question along the call sign thing. What is the coolest call sign that you've ever heard? Viper. I answered the question.
Well, I mean,
Maverick.
in real life, sure, those are all made up.
No, they're not. Once again, you need to lie more. Okay. So what's the coolest one?
I'll have
Viper?
you know, I've driven.
It depends on it. If you know the background story, it's kind of funny. The one of the coolest ones of a guy I flew with, when I was doing flight test.
Hold on. Tell us the background story and see if we can guess the name.
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
That's a great
Viper.
name.
Okay, so this guy was an A-10 pilot.
Okay,
and,
hold on. Give me some. What on earth is an A-10?
An A-10 is the one.
Really?
Is the one that's a tank killer. It's
tank killer.
The Soviets call it the Cross of Death because they know that it will just destroy anything. It's a airplane that's made around a 8-barrel Gatling gun that's made out of 30 millimeter bullets.
Listen,
4,200 rounds a minute. That's 60,
you have to stop.
That's 60 bullets a second. 60 bullets a second this thing
awesome.
shoots. So anyways, this guy
360 bullets every so often.
I've heard one fly overhead before at an air show. Those things sound crazy.
Well, they've got
cool.
these big fans on them, and they just sound cool. Anyway, so this guy Larry was going through all.
You know what? I do not think of like the big killer pilot being named Larry.
So,
Larry.
That's the thing. You got to understand that they're not freaking movie stars. These guys. You'll see some of the wimpiest dudes get out of some of the most meanest airplanes on the planet, and you would, if you saw him on the street, you would think that guy's a wimp.
It's a historical fact that the Red Baron was actually transvestite.
We don't really go that way.
Anyways, so
moving on.
All fighter pilots, before they can start actually their fighter pilot training, they have to do what's called a centrifuge, where you have
they spin
to,
you around like on
where they
Spies
spin
Like
you
Us when their
around.
faces are all jacked.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And you have to be able to pull 9G sustained. I think it was for 5 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds, maybe
without
10,
passing out.
Without passing out. And you just get on this thing where you flex your muscles and you keep the blood from leaving your head.
No, flex them again because nobody can see it, but we can, and it's pretty awesome.
So he's doing it, and he's getting up to 9Gs, and when he's doing his what we used to call back then the L1 maneuver, it was to try to keep the blood from leaving your head so you don't pass out.
So what does
Initially,
L1 mean?
I don't even remember.
Oh, that's all right.
But when it starts happening, you start graying out, like you start going tunnel vision. And if you really get on it hard, and then it'll like open back up again. But if you let it go dark, you're done.
When you mean get it, you mean like just clench?
Yeah, you're clenching everything. Like if you're trying to make your face
Kegel
red.
exercises.
If you're trying to make your face red, that's what you're doing essentially. Except you got to do it with your whole body.
Does it give you an incredible headache?
It can over a period of time, but
I'm clearly not pilot material.
You got to do it with your whole body in order to to keep the blood from leaving
everything.
I've been doing it for the last little while of this story, and I haven't blacked out yet.
So as he was approaching 9Gs,
an exercise video, that.
You got to recognize that 9Gs, if you weigh 200 pounds, that means you now weigh 1,800 pounds.
Man.
So if your head's, I don't know what a head weighs, but if your head weighs 20 pounds,
about
you're
8 to 10 pounds,
upwards
from what I understand.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
My wife studied exercise science.
So if you're at 9
Random
Gs,
fact.
your head now weighs 90 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Man, I
anyway,
could totally
so
pack around a 90
so he's
pound
he's
head
up at the
in
9G
a
point,
second.
and he starts doing this. He starts going. His right eyebrow starts going up.
Yeah.
Like
no
that.
one can see that, but your right eyebrow is going
And
up.
because his eyebrow went up, there's a camera that's showing the guy's face the whole time that
We're
he's
really
doing
going
it.
a long way for this nickname.
Well, all of the other students are watching the video and watching him pull 9Gs. You can see it in the classroom. So
Right.
everybody gets to see you either pass out or make it.
right.
Oh,
So
great.
his eyebrow goes up, and they're like, we're going to call him.
Vinegar
Eyebrow.
stroke.
Hold on. You might want to say that again for the audio didn't quite catch that one. What was that?
I said vinegar stroke.
Just Google image search it. You'll figure it out.
You guys can't guess what it was.
So that's my guess. What's yours?
I don't know. Eyebrow.
Think of somebody that flew in a spaceship.
Somebody flew in a space. Spock.
Okay. That was it.
I win. I
Cannot believe
Because
you
of the
got
eyebrows.
that.
I win. What are we playing?
I think you win.
Call signs.
You win call signs.
All right. What's another one?
So it was
like a
Spock.
shorter story one though.
Wait, hold on.
I can't think
Hold on,
of
let's do this.
anything off the top of my
Let's
head.
stick a pin in call sign game, and let's take a quick commercial.
If you enjoy our show, be sure to check out our other content at ninethrowmedia.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Roy and Matt Show.
And we're back.
I
We
hope
were
you-
arguing just now of who was going to bring us back in. And during the break, Greg said, "Ooh," the Colonel said, no more questions about call signs because it's boring. Well, guess what? We're talking more about call signs. I want.
Hold on, I want to interrupt you real
Of
quick.
course.
Bef-
I mean,
before-
I never interrupt anybody, so
I know.
you just go ahead. Interrupt away.
By the way, can I call you what I used to call you in our meetings all the time?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
No.
this sounds great. While we're on call signs,
Yeah.
Well, I just wanna do
What's-
this.
What's Roy's call sign?
I really think we should have a field trip podcast where you somehow pull strings and we try to pull 9Gs in a centrifuge. Is that what you
Centrifuge.
Not a centrifuge, but what did you call
It's
it?
a centrifuge.
Centrifuge.
Call it a centrifuge.
I would absolutely.
How many airbags do I get? I'm gonna just be like vomit right now.
It was down in Holloman Airport in New Mexico.
Oh, Holloman.
Okay, so that's a big field trip.
My
We're gonna
gas
need
card.
some
It's a
serious
big field
waivers.
trip.
Road trip.
Yeah, we're gonna need some waivers signed.
Waiver sign. Okay, so give us a couple more. Just I know that you don't want to do this because everybody
Well,
thinks
you don't
it's a
have to tell
waste
the
of
story,
time.
just give
You
us
don't
the
have to-
names.
just like what's a couple really cool call signs?
Flo was one of them. Real good buddy of mine.
His first name
No,
was
no,
Rida.
like really cool
First
call
name was
signs.
Ant Flo.
Really cool call signs.
Really cool call signs. Jeez.
Goose.
None
Goose,
of them are
goose.
cool. There's always
yeah,
there's
like
always,
something really cool, like an animal name that was like vicious.
One
Grizzly.
One guy was called Rifle.
That one's pretty cool.
That one is pretty cool.
It's all right.
That's cool. It's like,
Rifle?
that's like a western.
He
one.
was
That's pretty
Rifle
cool.
because he was really good at gunnery.
Colt 45 would be, or like
Gunnery.
Navy 6
Glock.
Glock, right?
it
I'll
seems
take-
to me
I'll
like
take what?
it seems to me like it really is the story that makes it though.
It
Like
is
if you
the
don't
story.
know the story, it's the same thing with nicknames. Like I had a nickname in high school, and unless you knew the story behind it, it didn't make any sense.
Hold on. Don't tell us the story. Tell us the name. I'll decide
Star Wars
this.
kid.
Okay.
The deal is that call signs like you guys are hunting for, like you would have seen on Top Gun Maverick, nobody gives a dude a call
Right.
sign like Maverick or Iceman.
Right.
That doesn't exist. They're all goofy names. They're
Right.
never.
Well, I just want to say this. Going back to nicknames, which are in essence call signs.
Go ahead, Viper. Tell the story.
I met a super fat kid one time, and everybody called him Flash, and that's awesome.
perfect, right? I
He
mean,
was
'cause
he
it's
was Orca fat, and he went by Flash.
opposite.
They're supposed to be ironic.
Well, they're
Right,
supposed
exactly.
to be. Well, I mean, if you call a fat guy Snacks,
Relax,
that's funny too.
handsome. We'll take care of what's ironic and what's not. Go ahead.
All right, so do you want to continue being this
I don't.
horse,
No. What's the dumbest one you've ever heard?
Maverick?
Mongo and Pink.
Brian, way to go. Man, nice.
The ones that you saw on Top Gun for the most part, Maverick.
they didn't have. But you
Goose
said
was
they
okay.
didn't have that.
Okay, but Goose and Jester are awesome.
Oh, Jester. I forgot about Jester.
What about Sundown? I always thought
Jester's
Sundown was kind of cool.
dead.
He was also like the token black guy on the movie.
His name was I thought it was.
You're always going with the
I thought it
racial
was like
stuff.
Wizard or Warlock.
No, that
No,
was
it
me.
Sundown.
Warlock. Oh, hold on.
Warlock is
Warlock.
pretty
What's a famous Warlock in a more recent movie that's been on TNT? We've mentioned it. You guys are gamers and hackers.
A Warlock on TNT.
Warlock. Bruce Willis movie. Live Free, Die Hard. He was the only guy that had lights in New York City, I think.
Oh, you're
when
right.
When they shut down all the lights, there was a fire sale. Remember that?
I do remember that.
And he was a warlock?
How was he a warlock?
Yeah.
that
his
was
name
no,
was
it-
Warlock.
Oh, okay.
You guys watch movies?
That was his internet.
Yeah,
We're totally gonna blast you on
You got to
taglines.
understand there's the actual scene from it. Do you want me to play it? Because I've got it here.
What, Warlock?
I think I actually have the scene of the Warlock and
That was
his
quick.
command
If
center.
anybody's worried that the Colonel's going to leave too soon, we're doing a 2-episode show tonight, so he might stay over.
We just
for
locked it
sure.
in.
Wait.
Well,
Well,
let-
find out what the name of the black guy is. in
Do you have
Top
any?
Gun.
Do you have any other questions?
For the Colonel?
Like-
on
like-
call signs? No, I'm done. Everybody's
What, you want to know what
pressuring
the
me
black
like,
guy's call sign was on
On
Top Gun?
I
I
swear
don't
it
know
was
what
Sundown.
it was. The guy that started singing.
Sundown? That's really?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, okay.
The guy that was in the officers club that started singing.
No, he got
Loving-
mad at
It, no,
Maverick
it,
for
it was
like,
it was Sundown.
Boom.
His name was Sundown.
boom.
All right.
You
Well, if we're gonna do this,
Dude, bro.
You set us up, bro. You knew that one. What were you going to say? All right. So, did you
Well-
have something for us? The Warlock thing?
No, it's
You
fine.
can't find it. Okay.
No,
Also-
I've got it. It's not going to be worth it.
The guys in Top Gun are all Navy pilots too, so maybe the Navy does call signs a little bit different.
No, they
Oh.
do them the same way.
They're all dorky in the Navy too.
Yeah, I think it's the guys that I can remember.
So, what did you fly?
Well, primarily I flew big
hold on.
jets.
Hold on,
I,
stop. Let me guess. Did you ever fly a cargo plane full of rubber dog crap?
I did
Out
not.
of Hong Kong?
I never
Hong
flew
Kong.
a cargo plane full of rubber dog crap out of Hong Kong.
No,
no,
you never know. You never know. Had to try.
Well, you didn't get in trouble enough.
I flew
What a-
mostly big
what a
aircraft.
straight, narrow.
Yeah.
Your name should have been Boy Scout. Was there anybody's call sign named Boy Scout?
I don't recall
Or
anybody.
just scout.
Brad. What? Whose name was
Brad Pitt.
I just screwed it up. Did you see that movie?
Which movie?
The
Spy game.
you gave it away. I was going to try to make them guess.
You guys are terrible.
Who was Brad Pitt's co-star in Spy Game?
Robert Redford.
Greg's supposed to answer these.
All right. So let's get back. Let's get back to your plane. So you flew a big plane.
I flew mostly big stuff.
You flew everything though, right?
I did fly a bunch of different stuff when I was doing some flight test stuff. I got the opportunity to. Well, I got to fly the T-38 again, which is like a small fighter. You
were
see
a
him
T-
flying
you-
around.
you were a
Sacramento
test
all
pilot?
The time. I was.
You're Chuck friggin'
a
Yeager.
flight test pilot.
Oh, never mind.
I didn't
I
go
guess
to
you're not.
TPS school. I just flew airplanes that had been refurbished, and then we did some weapons testing.
So,
with-
like after the
F-111s
mechanic
and
really works on it, like a car guy, like a
Uh,
mechanic works on it. You're the guy who just takes
it's
it for
more
a spin.
if you consider you did a ground up restoration on a car, and then
You took it for a spin.
Then we take it for several spins generally. But we were doing a bunch of different airplanes. We had F-15s, 111s, A-10s, KC-135s. That's how I got there. And then we used the
Sunshine
T-38 to do chase when we were doing weapons testing. So
Did you ever? You probably didn't. But did you ever have to eject from an airplane?
I never did. Nope.
There's not like a training simulator where you have to just experience
There is
the
a training
misery.
simulator at flight school. They put you in an ejection seat that's on a tower, and it when you sit in the seat and when you pull the handles, it throws you up the tower. It's supposed to give you like an instantaneous 12G hit in the butt, and then you go up. You go rocketing up this tower.
Does
and
that
then-
like crush your
then you come back
spine?
down. Well, one
what I
thing
heard, yeah.
one thing that does happen with some guys, if you're not in the correct position when you
They-
pull
they
the
become
handles,
paralyzed.
You can you could compress discs and everything else, and there's several guys that have ejected and they've ruined their backs and they can't fly fighters anymore, and sometimes they can't even ever fly again.
Probably have a
But-
really weird look on their face.
There's plenty of instances. I know a guy specifically that punched out of an F-15. He was doing some basic
Eagle.
fighter maneuvers,
F-15
right? An F-15 Eagle. He was doing some basic fighter maneuvers when he was at F-15 school, and he was solo by himself, and he was chasing his instructor. And when he pulled in to get a shot on the instructor's tail, and he pulled 9 Gs.
Did he go below the hard deck? Because then it doesn't count. At least that's what I've heard.
He pulled 9 Gs, and it knocked him out. He didn't get on his L1 hard enough, and he passed out.
Which we really don't know how that even came about, that term.
Yeah. So he came to, and the airplane was going straight down, and it was just passing Mach, which is about 730 miles an hour.
So I was going to say
And-
730, 731.
And it was going straight down, and he was passing like 6,000 feet, and he knew he didn't have enough room to pull the jet out of the dive, so he grabbed
How
for the
far
handles.
up was he? A mile up? What?
Yeah. that's a
6,000
mile.
feet.
6,000 feet.
But when
and
an
he-
airplane
and he knew
is-
that he wasn't going to have enough room to
You
pull
wouldn't
up.
going that fast. You would not have enough room going
I-
that fast.
You know, in the Atari video game that I was playing.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
totally had
Well, in
enough
Call of
time.
Duty,
So,
I don't know.
So he went for the handles. He pulls the handles. He assumes the position. I mean, this is all microseconds, right?
Right.
He pulls the handles, and he said the seat and that Aces.
Oh, we
2
know what
seat,
he said.
The Aces 2 seat,
And it
you
would
know,
be
hits
pixelated
him,
on this
like
podcast.
12, 15 Gs in the rear, and he's going up the rail. And basically, that airplane, from the time you pull the handles to when you're under a parachute, is like 1.5 to 2.5 seconds. It's that fast. But so he's pulling the handles, and as the seat is going up the rail, he's got his eyes open, and he's watching the canopy bow because it's all time compressed. You know how when you get in an accident? And
yeah, well,
the
no.
canopy bow's going down, and he's like, "Oh, this is going to hurt really bad." And that's the last thing he remembers. So
What did he do? I can't even picture that. He hit the canopy?
it knocked him out. It ripped the helmet off of him.
The
Ripped his-
canopy?
no, not the canopy, just the wind blast.
Oh.
Because he's going so fast. The wind blast ripped ripped his helmet off. His arms flew back. He dislocated both shoulders, broke both arms. His legs went back, dislocated
Well, he
both
clearly
hips.
did not keep his arms and
You could-
hands
there's no way you
inside
could
the
do that.
He
vehicle.
has the
Seven-
worst L1 I've ever heard of.
750
Did not keep
miles
his tray
an
table
hour.
up.
He sucks at L1ing. Really?
So winds of 700. So he broke all of his limbs.
Gosh.
And he hit the water, and he actually was conscious, but he doesn't remember this. He got into his life raft. It was down in Florida.
How did he get into his life?
I'll
Sorry.
tell you how.
Sorry.
Mermaids.
Yeah, he
That's
got-
who
That's
got
the
him
only,
into
you know
his
who did it
life.
was Kevin Costner.
Yeah, from Waterworld.
No. From,
What do you mean?
From the Ashton Kutcher one.
Oh, Guardian.
The Guardian.
The
Kevin
Guardian.
Costner.
Guardian.
'Cause
Oh,
it's-
when he-
But he wasn't around, so I'm going to go with mermaids.
Look, I've dislocated my shoulder.
Dolphins.
And I couldn't swim with that hog out of the socket. So this guy had both arms out of the socket and both
and
hips.
both legs. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
This is
that
bullcrap. I don't believe this
no,
guy's
this-
story. I'm telling
No.
you, this was
He had
supernatural.
rods in both legs. He had rods in both legs. His arms had been pinned and
But
everything.
not at that time. He was just floating in the water
Yeah.
with his dislocated limbs.
They found him.
I had a
The
G.I.
rescue
Joe
guys
like that
found him in
once
his
in the
raft,
bathtub.
and he had actually fired a flare and talked to them on the radio.
Yeah, you know what they said on the radio? Like, that sounds like a dolphin. No, it was me. Like, no, that was a dolphin.
well, that's
You were totally saved by
see,
dolphin.
that's an awesome story though.
That is an
I'm
awesome
gonna-
story.
But he actually went back after 2.5 years. Went back to F-15 school and finished up.
Oh, once
Well,
an eagle driver, always an
Like
But
eagle.
to
a
put that
boss.
in perspective, though, like from when he woke up, he had under 5 seconds to react before he would have hit the ground at that speed.
Right.
It's 7:30, and you're only a mile away from the ground.
I would have had that calculation.
He probably
too,
got
but
1 or 2 swings in
I
the
left
chute
my
before he hit
protractor.
the water.
Yeah, totally. Like he didn't have
If I
very
had some
far to
graph
fall
paper,
at
I
that
would have
speed,
totally
and,
had
that.
and I don't think
TI-83.
there's any way I could humanly react if I only had 5 seconds before hitting the ground. I don't know if there's anything I could train to be in that position and feel comfortable in that circumstance. That's insane.
I don't know. I don't know if he was that much better off.
I think 5 seconds you have plenty of time.
yeah,
'Cause the
let's
fir-
count.
the first
1,000,
the first 2.5 you
1,000,
poop.
3.
Yeah.
Right. Then you're
Truly.
saying,
You-
what you
the,
just
the,
did.
the first 2 seconds you fear dump, and then you have 3 seconds left to dislocate some bones. Like, I get it. I track.
Coming out of unconsciousness, though, that the time that I think it takes me to like figure out what the heck is going on, much less be
Whoa.
at that speed.
Hold on, how many times have you been knocked out?
I don't want to talk about that.
He didn't know
I
what
don't
was
remember.
going on until he was in his life raft after the dolphins had put him in there and shot out the flare and radioed people.
The thing to think about is everybody that I've ever talked to it's called G-locking yourself because you're pulling so many G's that you lock yourself up and pass out. And and you can see videos on YouTube. Of
Oh, they're
guys
hilarious,
G-locking,
yeah.
So, everybody that
Who
I've
said
ever
that?
talked to that have G-locked themselves, they say they wake up and they're like, oh, where am I? Did I just wake up? Is it time? Do I have to go to work? Oh, my gosh. I'm in a cockpit. Oh, my gosh. The airplane's going 750 miles an hour. I'm going straight down.
Oh,
I'm
you're
gonna
talking
die.
about after they pull those G's
And then
they wake up.
Right, and then they wake up because the
Okay.
airplane relaxes. It quits pulling G's because they're passed out. They're not on the controls anymore.
Right.
And then they come to, and it's like waking up in the morning, and
I'll
not
tell you,
knowing
you can
where
pull
you
some
are,
G's.
what time it is.
Starscream from Transformers. That guy can do some
he's no
serious
joke.
turns.
What about the Silverhawks?
the Silverhawks? Way
But,
big G's. They know how to L1 it up.
Well, I just want you to know that there's
More than meets
there's
the
a
eye.
rule in the podcast. If you tell an awesome story, it now becomes my story. So
It happened to you.
I'm going to tell that story about my friend who got his arms all ripped out and was saved by a dolphin. I will now tell that story for the rest of my
Saved
life.
by a dolphin.
So thank
You
you.
say no, but nobody can prove it otherwise.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So thank you for that. I appreciate that
Or
story.
mermaids. I mean, you may as well go with the mermaids.
Or Loch Ness.
No,
Mermaids
No.
with,
flotation.
huge
Listen,
size.
tracts of land.
Listen, we all agree he was saved by dolphin Kevin Costner, and that's the end of the story. So now that story's done,
Okay.
we producer Logan just gave me the nod. We are going to jump into another commercial. We're going to pay some bills,
Okay.
so let's do another
And
commercial.
Another commercial.
If you're like us, you enjoy your TV on demand. Try out the Hulu Plus subscription on our website by clicking on any of the Hulu Plus ads at nitromedia.com. Get a free 2 weeks, even share it with a friend. It's a great and affordable plan for your television needs. nitromedia.com.
And we're back. Is that what you're looking for? I thought you were going to bring us in. That's all right. Hey, we have a few more questions for you. First of all, when you're up there in a single-seat fighter, where do you do your business?
Well, usually you don't have to. But they do have, like on long flights.
Like a
they'll
30-minute
have-
mission or
Hang on,
what?
we just mentioned in
Most-
pre the commercial about fear dumps.
Sure.
If you're ever going to have a situation of fear dump, it's
Okay, I've got another really good story that I'll tell you.
Awesome.
If you're about to
If
tell
you
a
want,
fear
if you
dump
want
story,
a potty story about, I've got a friend.
We really don't
another,
like potty
Another
humor,
really
but
good
that's
friend
gross.
that flew
Pander.
that flew U-2s, and a U-2 isn't a fighter; it's a very high altitude spy plane.
And it's an awesome band.
And,
So, is it mandatory that you listen to U2 while flying a U2?
And the U-2
Guess not.
flies crazy high altitudes.
Guys listening to U2 are crazy high. The parallels never end. Go ahead.
And so this friend of mine was doing a sortie in northern Iraq.
That's
this
where the
is
parallels
sortie.
stop.
Sortie is a word I remember from Top Gun, but they never defined.
It's
Sortie.
just a mission,
Okay.
a flight.
Sortie going over here, and then we're sortie going
but
over
U-2
there.
missions are upwards of 8 hours long or longer even, and they're super high altitude. Because they're such a high altitude, the pilots are wearing a spacesuit, a full-on astronaut
Oh, wow.
spacesuit.
The right
And-
stuff.
And so when they have to
Yeah.
go to the bathroom, they've got they have essentially a condom that's over their manly parts, and that goes.
Oh my gosh, little
that comes-
kids listen to this
that
show.
comes out
No,
of
they
the,
don't.
Colonel.
comes out of the pant leg into a tube that sits in their outside pocket, so it's not pressurized. But in order to make it work, you throw a little valve and it kind of squeezes down and seals it all
Can
off so you
civilians
can go.
buy those?
Yeah, for like
Yeah.
traffic.
Well, I can tell
People
you another
commuting.
story regarding that offline, but this specific story because
Whoa.
they're
Whoa.
so because
I want,
they go
the,
so
I want
long.
the Atlantic story.
this story
not
was-
the Pacific story.
Let me
How about
spec-
the Indian story?
Specific story. Let me-
Arctic story. A little cold.
So he was going on this mission, and usually these guys have these white cotton underwear on, and they usually have a diaper underneath the cotton underwear in case they have
Huh.
to poop while they're flying.
Sounds like a lot of pilots
you
are
are-
fetish.
You were pulling back the curtain on fighter pilot. I'm like,
No, this is not. It's not. Well, even fighter pilots, if they've got
It's
a
common
super long
knowledge,
sortie, would wear those if they're hauling an airplane like from the States to Europe or the Middle East. Or
Some
whatever.
dude's like, no, guy, it's a half-hour flight. He's like, no. I like it.
Give me the diaper.
So this buddy of mine is flying this sortie, and he didn't put the diaper on because he hated wearing the diaper. So he's like, whatever, I can deal with it.
Childhood issues.
So of course, as soon as he gets all the way up to altitude, which is over 60,000 feet, and it's still classified and they're still operational, but he's on this sortie, he's at high altitude, and he gets bubbly gut, and he knows he's got it.
Oh, like when your intestines say,
yes,
this is not going to be a solid situation.
That's right, exactly. So he calls back on the SATCOM and says, hey, I am not wearing a diaper. I've got to go. And do you guys want me to do it in the suit and ruin the $80,000 spacesuit? Or do you want me to turn around and cancel the sortie and make it back so I can, And they're like, well, just turn around, start coming home. And, if it becomes a physiological emergency, just ruin the spacesuit. So he's coming back, and he's trying to save the spacesuit.
Wouldn't you just want to ruin a spacesuit just for the sake of ruining it? Like 80,000, boom.
Especially ruining
right
it that
there.
way. Like you didn't just like drop it. You like took a dump it.
You just walk around everywhere you walk the next month. You're like, oh, I crapped on your tax dollars.
Right.
Exactly.
His call sign would be eccentric.
So he's coming back, and he's cramping up, and he's having the hardest time, and he finally
Who hasn't been there?
he
right?
declares, right
In a
exactly,
car.
Everybody's
Not
had
in a
everybody's
frickin'
had
plane.
On a date.
right. So,
Really? You're stopping your story right now. Intern Ryan, tell us about that date. Was there a second date? I got a date story. Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you
No,
want me to
go
finish
ahead.
the story?
Let me write it down.
So he's coming back, and he knows he's hurting. So he declares an emergency, and they keep telling him, just go in the suit if you have to. And he's like, no, I can make it. Well, the U-2, it taxis, when it lands, it has to have these pogos put under the wings because the wings will drag on the ground. It's a big, long-winged airplane. So they get the pogos in, and he gets off the taxiway, and they actually need to be helped out of the cockpit. So
All the pilots are like 85.
He pulls off on the taxiway, off the runway. They stops the airplane, shuts the engines down, opens the canopy, and these two.
I love it that you're going into such detail.
These two-
They're shutting the engines down.
Well-
They're doing a right turn with a left list with the knob not quite to off
an L1.
because that will
I know,
ruin
I'm
it.
always
And it'll
guilty of
drain.
this.
That'll drain the whole fuel system, and they have to redo
my
everything.
wife is laughing at me right now.
Of course she is.
So they go to help him out. It's a life support technicians, a male and a female life support people.
Life support technicians.
They
not,
help him.
not just helpers.
They help him out of the
Are they
the
using
airplane.
Are they using a Harrison crane?
They help
or
him
a
out
Delta
of the
crane?
airplane. They walk him down the little stairs on the taxiway. They've got a government trash can that's all of
It
a
has
foot
to
and a
be
half
a government
high.
trash can. You're awesome. You are so awesome. Go ahead.
And the female helps him get the spacesuit off, the helmet off, the spacesuit. She pushes it down around his ankles, and he drops his cotton underwear and sits right there on a trash can
His
on a
cotton
taxiway
underwear.
with a spacesuit around his ankles and does his business right there in front of
Man,
everybody.
Call sign change.
Now that
Right
is the
there.
right stuff.
Dumper.
Dumper. Who said dumper?
I did.
Good call. Sign. You were gonna say.
Well, crapping in an $80,000 suit made me think of this. Are there any negative repercussions to when in the previous story the guy bailed out and the plane exploded? Like, do you get in trouble for ruining an airplane because they're?
Well, because it wasn't negligent, and because he did not do anything negligent against the rules. No.
What? He ate raw chicken.
If he
crushed
flipped
some
over
raw
and was
chicken.
flying upside down above a Russian MiG and flipped someone off, and that went haywire, that could be deemed negligent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What? He was keeping up foreign relations. Just giving him the bird.
You know.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Were they mad that he was like, I got to take a dump and I'm not wearing my diaper?
Yeah, that's
Like,
negligent.
That's so
You're
much.
not wearing
That's so
his-
much jet fuel that he just wasted. Like,
Well, they didn't
care about
harass
it.
Hold
him
on,
about
I want to go back. It's an $80,000 spacesuit. Is that like government dollars? Because that's like what, like a $30 spacesuit, really? And did he dump it into like that's an $80,000 spacesuit? He'd pretty dumped into like a $75,000 garbage can, right?
Yeah. It basically it'd be the equivalent. It'd be the equivalent of if you Bought some Dockers from the outlet malls.
They're just tearaways.
Yeah.
They're just tearaways.
Yeah.
So that's
well,
awesome.
I don't know how else to get into this because you guys keep hinting to the upside down plane story.
Oh yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I'm giddy to hear this
Ryan,
story.
No, it's
Intern Ryan was mentioning that there's an upside down plane story, and all I can think of is you're Denzel Washington.
well, when we were, when I was doing my flight test stuff, we were flying a big airplane, a KC-135. The civilian
and the sunshine
equivalent
band?
is a 707. If anybody knows what that is, it's a 4-engine
not
jet.
a
It was
clue.
the first jet airliner to fly in the world, but the Air Force had 400 and something of them for aerial refueling. And after we had done all of the depot maintenance flight testing on it, we were delivering it to a base in the central U.S. And it had really old autopilot system on it, and but it had new motors that gave it tons of thrust. The airplane held.
What color was it?
It was silver.
Okay, I just want more detail.
And yeah, now you're trying to bait me.
I'm not trying.
No,
You're just
no.
doing it.
I know, I'm really-
like a
Solo
gunmetal gray, like a platinum silver, or chrome.
So, anyways, the airplane had excess power. It held time to climb records because it had lots of power. It had 100,000 pounds of thrust, and the empty weight was 120,000 pounds, which is a lot of thrust for a large airplane.
I hear that all the time.
We flew, yeah, right. So
Matt,
we
you
were
have
flying
a lot of
it.
thrust for a large airplane.
We were flying it on this particular day at probably at about 150,000 pounds, and because it had so much excess thrust, if an outboard engine failed, the airplane would yaw right or left, depending on.
You're doing something with your hand that
I
no
know
one can
which.
see.
I
but
know which.
What is
which,
that?
Well, what would happen is if you lost, say, the outboard left engine, that means the right.
co-pilot goes, yaw!
That means the right wing would want to try to rotate forward.
Oh, that's way off.
Right, so it would rotate forward, and make the airplane want to roll to the left.
Plane rolls on an x-axis.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Well, duh.
So,
Anybody
anyways,
had draft paper, I
to
could've told you
offset
that.
that huge asymmetrical thrust, the rudder would kick one way or the other to
Automatically, or is that
automatically,
something you do?
sensing an engine failure. The rudder would kick
Do
automatically.
you guys do anything? Everything's automatically
well,
so far.
This airplane is really archaic.
I could fly
it would
it.
just send it a signal, and it would actually pull the cables and make the airplane make the rudder kick over.
Okay.
So, anyways, we're just on the east side of the Sierras at about 32,000 feet, and I was looking out my left window at this huge bomb dump that's in Hawthorne out there, and I said,
It was left there by a U-2 pilot.
and I said to
Are
my
you just
buddy,
lobbing a softball?
I said to my buddy who was sitting in the right seat, I'm like, I can't believe all the revetments down there. And as I said that,
The
the airplane
What
rolled
the
up.
heck? Stop. Revetment? Is that I think I stepped in some revetment
They're
the other
little
day.
mounds. They look like
going in the park.
gopher mounds, except they're huge, of course. But
Oh.
from
Well,
32,000
it's
feet,
different.
they look like little gopher
They're
mounds.
they're craters.
There's hundreds of them. No, they're like little domes everywhere.
All right, continue.
So the airplane starts, as I'm looking out the window, the airplane starts rolling to the left.
Yawing, if you will.
Rolling.
From a
And so as it passes about 60 degrees of bank, I thought that my friend had turned the autopilot to look out my window, and I said, "Scott, are you doing that?" And he's like, "It's not me." And the airplane
What's Scott's call sign? Let's just get everything straight.
PAF.
So Mongo
Boring.
and Paff are crashing a plane. Who knew that was coming?
So the airplane rolls up to about 90 degrees of bank. I've got in full ailerons with the yoke.
Nobody knows what the heck you're
Well,
talking
the
about.
steering wheel in an airplane, I've got it turned all the way to the right,
For those of you who can't see, Greg does have his fake steering wheel turned all the way to the right,
and I've got full right rudder.
and he's pushing his foot forward. His big cowboy boot. I bet his toes aren't half as scary as somebody's we know. Pushed all the way forward.
And the airplane still wants to go left. Well, finally, when it hits 90 degrees of bank, the rudder quit being deflected full left, and it went from full left deflection to full right deflection.
Happens all the time.
Snap.
And
Happens all the
essentially,
time.
in a 707, I mean, airliners
Tokyo
are
Drift.
not meant to be flown upside down. The airplane then
Hold on. Before we keep going, what airplane is meant to be flying?
Well, fighters can fly upside down, any kind of acrobatic.
Foreign relations.
You can
Come on.
fly any airplane. You can do a barrel roll and turn it upside down any airplane as long as you maintain 1G with it. Any airline or
Anybody knows that.
anything can be rolled as long as you maintain 1G.
So you guys are rolling. I'm giddy on this. So you have like at least 80% of my attention.
So the airplane, then I've got full control to the right with my hands and feet, and the airplane then snaps to the right because now the rudder kicked from left to full right, and the airplane went upside down. And I should have just taken it all the way around, but
because that would have been really cool.
It finally slowed down, just almost pure inverted, and we lost a ton of altitude.
Because you were inverted.
And then recovered the airplane.
Can you imagine if you were one of the 3 people in Nevada
on
in
one
the
of those
desert
RVets
that actually saw that?
Yeah, you're living in a revet, and you're like, look at this airplane.
That is awesome. You never see a KC-135 do a deflected turtle roll.
That plane is yawing like crazy.
That's crazy. That's something only like a Viper guy could do. Turns out it wasn't Viper guy. It was Mongo and Pathway.
Does that qualify as one of the scariest experiences you've had while flying?
That was definitely the one that for a nanosecond I was like, I might be buying the farm today.
Wow.
You can't eject out of those, right? You
We
just
had
have to-
chutes where you can bail out of it, like old World War II bomber.
Yeah.
Right, if you could somehow find
See
your
ya.
way out of it.
I only know 2 other pilots, and both of them think skydiving is the dumbest thing in the world. Is that a universal truth to pilots?
No, I know several pilots that skydive. That are military guys that especially a lot of the guys that go to the academies. They have to do skydiving at the academies, and they enjoyed it.
Well,
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, you're going to stick around for the next
Sure, if you
episode.
want.
Because the next episode, we are going to launch into...
We'll play some games.
We'll play some games. We've got a couple games. So those of you who... Ryan, do you have anything that you want to add into this great thing that we've missed with some of these stories?
You are the intern.
You are the intern. Have we missed anything?
Oh, by the way, real quick, I just want to say we are men of our words. Clearly, Jake and Lucas did not watch Point Break, so they're
Actually,
not. They're not.
actually-
Don't stop me. They're not allowed to speak until that movie is seen.
So I got an email. Do you want the update on that?
You're going to steal it from me.
Yeah, I want
Yes.
to hear it. Stolen.
So Jake got the DVD.
No, we didn't.
Hold on.
Don't.
No, we didn't.
Stop.
Don't cut off.
He did get the DVD, but it's a Blu-ray, and he can't have a Blu-ray because apparently Jake, all he has is like an old hi-fi,
So
Wi-Fi, hi-fi
He's just like
system
He
in
gave
his
me
house.
a Blu-ray. I need a Betamax.
That's right.
Jeez.
Dude, Laserdisc, come on.
Yeah, so he didn't have a laser disc, and so he hasn't been able to watch it yet. So that's,
And
that's what
that
his thing
is the reason why. It
So-
may or may not be true, but let's just agree to say for the rest of our natural lives that we would not allow him back on the show until he views.
I
the
think
film.
he's close, though. I think he's close. I think Julie tried to hook him up with the.
Well, now
with the
he's
thing.
gonna have to go to the Colonel and Julie's house
Colonel and Julie.
and
watch one of those 800 movies.
He's gonna be sitting on there with his big old size 16s. Like, you guys got any popcorn?
Right. That's
It
what,
wouldn't be the first time.
well, that's the party house.
So Jake, Lucas, do your homework, and with that,
We will wrap up today's episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of our pilot talk and all of our things that we just spoke about. The Colonel will be with us tomorrow when you check in the podcast again. So until then, this is Roy.
I'm Matt.
I'm producer Logan.
I'm Ryan.
The
Ryan the
intern.
intern.
The intern, sorry. Ryan the intern, sorry.
And I'm the Colonel.
Thank you.
Good night.
Now